You compete in the CrossFit Games, and then from what I've read, I think you stated that you were burned out. You're about to become a first-time dad, and I think this was right around the time functional bodybuilding was born. And I love if you kind of could share what led to that, and then for people listening who don't know what that is, like what is, and how would you define functional bodybuilding?
Between medical school and the creation of functional bodybuilding, there's this 8-year period of time in my life where I dove heavily into CrossFit as a coach, as a business owner, and as an athlete. So started as a coach, got into business ownership, opening up a CrossFit gym, simultaneously developed myself as an athlete in the sport that was called CrossFit, and that is called CrossFit. All of that was very fruitful on many, many levels. I learned a lot as a coach because CrossFit at the time, through those years, was the biggest lead generating funnel for new fitness, strength, and conditioning clients. More people were coming to the gym to practice weight training, strength, and conditioning through the CrossFit brand than any other method had been really to date. This is where I'm going to get access to the most people to develop as a coach, develop my own skills as a professional. And because I was having success as an athlete, this is fully a personal, selfish pursuit. Soccer in college just didn't scratch my competitive itch because I was sidelined. I was benched, the whole time. So I was like, I got more to give. I want to just go and really feel what that's like. A captive audience of CrossFitters around the world poured a lot of energy and a lot of love towards the athletes of the sport. I was doing well. People had eyes on the sport. I was somewhat of a unique athlete who was also a coach and a thoughtful athlete who had a thoughtful approach to training. That helped me to build the base audience, the base, customer that I now have expanded upon with my own business. And so in 2016, I had sort of done this 7-year run of being an athlete. That's a long career in a high intensity, high demand sport. And it's also a long time in a high demand, physically demanding sport that doesn't pay. You've had Matt Fraser on the podcast. He is by far the exception to the rule, where he won so many times and he was so successful that his earnings from endorsements and prize money was substantial. But the vast majority of us that were competing at the same time in the same era were paying to play. We were not being paid to play. And so that didn't stop me, but it certainly, I was smart enough to know there's a certain timeline and a lifespan to this. I can't do this forever. It's taking up physical and mental and emotional resources. It's not providing a lot of financial resources. It's keeping me from dedicating to building a business or expanding my career. And now in 2017, I'm just recently married. I have a baby on the way, wanting to start a family. Okay, it's time logically to hang up the boots, so to speak, as an athlete. Once I shifted gears and it was like, okay, I gotta do this a different way. I'm not going to be competing in a sport. I was not going to be the athlete that retired, got out of shape, and lost their way. I was like, no, I'm still a lifelong athlete, but I want to do this in a way that I can do it for the next 40 years. And the way that I was competing in the sport and training for competition, also the way that the CrossFit brand and the CrossFit boxes of that time were promoting general population fitness, didn't align in my view of longevity, being able to do fitness in this way for a long time. So that's when I was like, okay, these are my thoughts and concepts on training. I'm going to keep showing them to people through social media, which was a really fun platform for me at the time to express ideas, show my own training, show my transformation from competing to win to now I'm competing to be able to do all the stuff that I love, but do it for a long time. And this was how I started to introduce other methodologies into my CrossFit practice. And essentially it was CrossFit with bodybuilding, or CrossFit with other training principles. Up until that point, people were not meshing together. The CrossFit box was sort of a place where people would join up and they were deeply committed to CrossFit. And anything that wasn't CrossFit, it was like, no, 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 no. You don't do bodybuilding in here. We don't do bicep curls. We don't do these things. I was like, well, they all kind of can coexist. I want them to coexist. I'm going to try and make them coexist. And as soon as that message was being spoken through social media, it just really struck me like, holy smokes, there's so many people out here that resonate with that. There's a lot of closet bicep curl fanatics that are in the CrossFit box that are going to the back of the gym after hours to do their curls because they want to do it, but they're being kind of shunned from the community in that way. Functional bodybuilding sort of got its roots in that story, but then it was like, wow, people really like what I'm saying. There's something here, and I'm going to keep providing opportunities for people to learn, one, that it's okay to mix all these things together. There could be some real value and benefit for your long-term health and avoiding burnout and the injury and the over-intensification of training through CrossFit in this way. That, in a nutshell, was like, okay, functional bodybuilding is, we're going to keep doing CrossFit, but we're going to introduce other principles that allow us to put a little bit more emphasis on physique, want to look good, we want to keep moving well, but we want to do it for a long time and not hit that 3 to 5 year burnout where everyone says, yeah, I'm done with my CrossFit membership. I'm going to go do something else.
On the flip side of that, then there's the bodybuilders. And I think what a lot of people, when they think about the gym and the exercise they're doing in there, it's a lot of like bodybuilding style exercises and static lifts. I think the appeal for them of functional bodybuilding is that bodybuilding alone is great if they're just focusing on, let's say, hypertrophy and just developing the muscles, but it's not very functional. So this is kind of the beautiful marriage between the two.
Bodybuilding's having its resurgence right now. And thanks to social media and thanks to a lot of influential people on that platform who have shown bodybuilding in a different light. And so that, to me, is fantastic, because I was a bodybuilder who couldn't get anybody to come to the gym and do what I was doing. But then CrossFit got a lot of people to come to the gym and do what I was doing. Now we have a lot of people who are, hey, I want to do bodybuilding, and hey, I want to do functional training. Hey, I want to bodybuild, but I don't want to be the stereotypical person who's muscle bound and really doesn't have, a lot of cardiovascular fitness to go with it. And I see people doing these like movements, expressions of their body in the gym that are dynamic. It's more than just like one-dimensional flexion of joints. It's like, oh, that looks really cool. I want to be able to do that. I think people truly want to express themselves physically in a elegant, complex way. They want to be dancers. They want to be capoeira. They want to do all this, and they want to have muscle. Like, how do I get all of it? At the risk of we're trying to do too many things. It's hit that desire point for a lot of people who are like, yeah, I want to look good, and I also want to move really well at the same time.